Welcome back to RJB Starcraft casts, and as always, I am here to bring you the highest quality of fastest map play in the world on Starcraft Brood War, and today we have none other than LovelyRabbit, aka Toki, aka yangchigisonyun, who's here playing on the red Terran on the bottom middle of the map. And his opponent is none other than semi-pro player Jaehoon, who has a very long tenure on low map. He's an amazing regular / low map player. And he's also an amazing fastest map player for team games. We've already featured him a couple of times in the past. To be specific, I casted a series, a 2 vs 2 series with Brain God, Gensei, Flash, and Jaehoon. You should check that one out, it's amazing. Even though I might be a little bit biased about that, I think it was an amazing series. It had Brain God and Flash playing on Terran against each other, and then Gensei and Jaehoon playing Protoss, and they would be alternating teams between Flash and Brain. And amazing series, amazing 2 vs 2, very technical stuff, mechanical stuff, very high paced stuff. Generally amazing to watch, a lot of action. Anyway, we can confirm that he's a very good 2 vs 2 player. He's an amazing 1 vs 1 player on regular maps, but I've got no idea how good this guy is playing on the fastest map in a 1 vs 1 setting. And something that's already quite interesting is the way he starts the game. It's a little bit different from the usual. This pylon placement, for example, is a little bit weird because it doesn't give you the option to place cannons to cover this entire area. Instead, you can only place these 2 cannons here. He's now pulling up Pro because Toki managed to scout him on the first try. Marine is trying to deal some damage with his cannons and stop them from going down. He managed to catch the Marine. The Marine is already on the way, but the cannons will definitely finish. The Marine is trying to go in, trying to get information to scout. But it's being forced out of the base, so no information for Toki. He cannot go in. He can stand there in the front to prevent Probe from leaving. Probe manages to leave nonetheless. Probe is not going to get cut out by these 2 Marines that are conjoining with the other Marine, and it's trying to find its way around. But Toki didn't relocate his Marines in time. Or maybe he did. He didn't. The Probe managed to get through completely unscathed. Finds its way into the base and gets itself some nice information here. That information is the fact that Toki is adding on 2 command centers, as we can see here. 2 command centers, an academy there. Still mining. Well, he started making Marines once again after he started those 2 command centers. So those very early 2 command centers he's planning on macroing up to be absolutely humongous. Whereas Jaehoon is going for a Seal of Adun after a cybernetics core. Cybernetics core was a given after those 2 simulators that he threw down. Otherwise, you wouldn't get to the simulators. So Seal of Adun, robotic facility. Not sure I like how these pylons are being placed here, or how these tech buildings are being placed, because it means that if you make a Dragoon in this gateway, it can spawn and get stuck right in between the tech and the gateway. Usually you would make pylons all the way down, so that Dragoons would pretty much just only spawn on this side here. But we'll see how that plays out. Toki going for Fire Bats because he is finishing up Stim upgrade. And Jaehoon is placing his probes oh no, he failed. He screwed it up. Usually he would place it so that the Fire Bat would spawn right in between. But that didn't happen. And he's managing to keep that Fire Bat alive for just long enough and is going to die before it reaches its destination, which was this pile of probes there, but Jaehoon handled it really well, really great micro. Another Fire Bat just spawned, made its way through. He's gonna try to block it, he blocks it in time, and he gets great micro once again from Jaehoon. Great micro, great control. He's got there, he's trying to block the fire, he's managing to block the Fire Bat. It's actually quite amazing stuff here, managing to block fire bats, which is something that I've tried doing, and maybe I just suck at it, but it's really hard to do. To actually block someone else who's trying to control their units, and you're blocking them effectively. Great stuff. Managed to pretty much waste nothing whatsoever. Now, Dark Templar and a regular Templar. Storm Upgrade is close to finishing. He's just going to keep that shuttle hanging there in the air. Oh, he unloads it, sees there's no energy, and he played his card a little bit too early because now that Templar is going to die along with the shuttle. Shuttle tries to get out, shuttle goes down. Dark Templar still dealing a lot of damage here, got 3 kills, managed to deny the turret there. He's now scouting, looking for other things to harass. There's an SCV. SCV goes down in 2 hits. Another SCV falls victim. And he's just gonna go around the base and keep hunting for more. Gets scanned now though. Now it's gonna get chased down, but it runs away outside of the range of those Marines. Will the Dark Templar survive? Or another scan comes down. Dark Templar will definitely die to that one. And in the meantime, Jaehoon threw down a lot of gateways. Stargate for Corsairs. And there's robotic support right there on the bottom. He's making shuttle speed now as well. Another shuttle is on the way. More Templars are being made now as well. He's adding on a lot of gateways there. He's planning on just going for a frontal attack, it appears, because he's not making a lot of extra robotic facilities. He's planning on dropping, getting some damage down on those minerals and on those SCVs. Hopefully kill a bunch of them as well. And then I assume he's going to try to break his way through the front. Whether that's going to work, I'm not sure, because Rabbit is honestly one of the best defensive players I've ever seen from anyone. Specifically because he is amazing at mostly securing his workers. Unlike, oops, there's a Templar there on the high ground, but it's got no Storm. This one does have Storm. Manages to storm a couple of Marines, but his attempt to make an opening on this side of the map kind of falls flat. No Marines have been relocated either, so there's no... Pretty much gained nothing out of that. The only thing he's gained out of that is that he now has a shuttle with 2 Templars hanging there, ready to fly in anytime he wants. Whenever the energy on those Templars is back. Corsair tries to go in, but there's a lot of turrets here, and an engineering bay hovering over the hill now as well, getting him vision over the hillside there, which extends the range of those turrets as well. Shuttle now relocated to the front, but a tank drop is moving over the top side of the map. Jaehoon already moving his Dragoons ready to intercept the tank. Or well, the dropship more specifically. And it's not coming, and it's coming now. Alright, he moves, you see, in time. Will he be able to snipe it down? He micros it quite well. He micros it quite well. The siege tank manages to unsiege. Oh, the siege tank doesn't manage to siege up and get a shot off on those probes. The probes stay alive. Raids coming out now for Toki, but a huge mass has already been balled up here in the front. And it's going to relocate itself to the front of Toki's base. Now drop comes flying in over the top side there. There's 2 Templars in there. Shuttle gets sniped down. Templars do not unload. Workers staying just fine and dandy. Gas now being added on because Toki has found himself in a pretty good spot. 63 SCVs, 58 probes for Jaehoon. Jaehoon now going for the frontal attack. There are not a lot of units here located in the front for Toki, so this might actually manage to break through here. This hole has already been made. He's now dropping tanks up on the hill, but those Dragoons there on the low ground can definitely take easy care. Can easily tear through those tanks there on the high ground. But Jaehoon is having a hard time getting his units to focus on the buildings here in the front because of those tanks that were up there on the high ground. And this bunker is being repaired really, really nicely. Those tanks there in the back are taking down those Dragoons. Gateways being built there on the middle. These fire bats in that bunker here in the front have taken down most of the zealots that Jaehoon had sent in there. Most of them went down, but another mass is already being rebuilt. Corsair accidentally flying into the fray. Loses his life, unfortunately. Jaehoon's here. Now he's got a lot of gateways there, so there's 6, 6, and 5 gateways in total. So that's about 17 gateways he's got finished up. Another one is 16 they got finished up. One of them is on the way. Wait, 16? I mean, almost 8. Yeah, 16. I'm sick of counting. War bunkers being thrown up here for Toki. There's no fire bats in those bunkers this time around, but the upgrades is just level 1 weapons, and these ground units are not going to make their way through. They are taking down the depots. They are... Ooh, great storm there on the back line. The tank goes down, but the other tank stays alive. Toki might repair it, but more units are already streaming out for Jaehoon. He's not going to stop the barrage of units, sending them in through the front, but he's not gaining all that much ground. Which is one of the things that I mentioned earlier. Toki is one of the best defensive players. He will manage to just hold a mass that is being sent into his front with apparently what seems to be not all that much. He had some quick responses, quick smart moves, quick smart thinking by putting those tanks there up on the high ground. And once those tanks up on the high ground start firing on those zealots, the zealots will then try to attack the tank on the high ground, but are incapable of doing so. Drop flies in, no marines ready to intercept. Raids are... Ooh, the storm comes down, the storm misses most. He hits 8 SCVs. Great pull from Toki, albeit a bit late. Late response with those raids as well, but the raids come in just in time. Manage to take down this shuttle before the second Templar unloads. He's got a pretty small base, 3 factories, 3 barracks, 3 starports, but that's a lot of bunkers there in the front. No way Jaehoon is going to break through that. No way, because there's a lot of dragoons there. The first has to take down those depots in the front with those dragoons. And those tanks behind the bunker line are just amazing against those dragoons specifically. Dragoons are still on 102 upgrades. Level 2 weapons, level 1 armor. Tanks are in 0-0, but level 1 weapon upgrade is on the way now. He managed to at least break through the front here. So he managed to clear something out, but he lost his entire mass. A couple of his... Well, almost his entire mass. He's got dragoons remaining there in the front. But he hasn't really picked up on the drop game all that much. He's been sending in a single shuttle with a single Corsair. It hasn't yielded much success so far, and I honestly think that one of the ways to beat Toki is by going for a really effective drop game, like what 458 would do, or what Non-Disclose would do, as we've seen in the previous game where Non-Disclose played against Mong, and he displayed some amazing drop play, some of the most amazing drop play I've ever seen in over 400 replays by this point. Maybe 500 replays that I've watched of Koreans playing 1 vs 1. And he goes in over the front. He's gonna unload units on top of those tanks. Tanks are gonna be torn down, and this time he might actually manage to break through the front here, because he's got a lot of dragoons there, and there are no tanks there in the backline ready to take down those dragoons. Fire bats, a couple of fire bats inside his bunkers, but the bunkers are now being torn down by those zealots. That drop on top of the tank is absolutely crucial and amazing here, but those raids that are cloaked are doing a lot of work in taking down the dragoons there, but they might not be quick enough and take it down, because their raid damage is quite low. As you can see, 8 damage into 1 armor, meaning it's now 6 damage per shot for those raids. A couple of Corsairs coming in, ready to take down those Corsairs, but they won't. Raids coming in, Corsairs ready to take down those raids. But it just looks like Jaehoon actually managed to break through by just busting through the front. And Toki was a little bit slow in spending his minerals. He didn't have a lot of buildings, didn't have a huge production capability. He was playing it a bit slow. And Jaehoon, as I said, managed to break through the front with some actual good shuttle use there. Dropping shuttles on top of the tanks behind the bunkers, while the units inside the bunkers themselves are focused on units in the front. I'm not sure if they switched over to the zealots that were behind the bunkers, but pretty much the entire section behind those bunkers are cleared out. Open up a path, nothing there to take down those dragoons. Dragoons tore down through the bunkers really, really easily. And then just keep sending more mass, keep pumping mass. And if there's something we know, is that these very high APM players can crap out a shit ton of units very, very quick. Send them very, very quick. And most of all, control them while fighting very, very well. So we managed to come out on top. And I've got a couple of more replays between these two lined up. So I'm just going to go into game number 2 between these two players and see how that one plays out. And I'm going to pause the video real quick after giving you a quick look at the score, although it's not saying all that much, because statistics tend to be in favor of Protoss, regardless of whether Protoss wins or loses. And let's pause it for a quick second. Let's see if game number 2 has something else in store for us. First of all, I think Jaehoon played quite a good Protoss, though his drop play was rather weak. But as he's proven right there, you don't always need a very good drop play in order to pull off a win. As long as you keep adapting to what you see in your opponent's base, and he saw that he had an opportunity to drop zealots right on top of those tanks behind the bunker line. And well, effectively turned the game around into his favor, because the game up until that part was going really, really well for Toki. Toki consistently holding any attempts by Jaehoon to break in, which is basically a winning condition for the Terran. Because as the Terran, you're going to be the subject and the victim of a lot of abuse aimed at your minerals and basically at your entire base by the Protoss. The Protoss is the aggressor, you're the defender, and at a certain point, once you've defended for long enough, become big enough, you can turn the tables around, flip them around on the Protoss, and deal some real counter blows. And Toki never got to that point, so the race against the clock didn't work out for him, but Toki this time around is going to go for a very interesting build that I've seen him do a couple of times back in when he played in the Universal Gaming League, which is the predecessor of Starcraft World, where he had this build that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't work. It kind of depends on a set of conditions. One of them being no early aggression to suffer from. Because like you go here for a very quick gas, then you choke up your front, no zealots can walk through. Then you build a bunker behind it, or well, you don't really need a bunker. You can just place a marine behind it, because the marine can walk through this little blockade here and attack the zealot that's going to be trying to break through. And then you will build a factory right here, and presumably a second factory coming down in a little bit, like a couple of seconds as well. At least I think a second one is going to come down. Anyway, what a Protoss would do if a Protoss were to be closer to the Terran, and the Protoss would start off with gateways and a forge. The Protoss could like make a couple cannons here in the front, push down these depots, get the Terran supply stuck, and then walk their zealots into the base. That is given the condition that you go for a very early aggressive build, which Jaehoon is not. Jaehoon is going for a +1 Nexus, same build as last game around, although this time he's placing his buildings a little bit differently, which I honestly prefer more, because last game Call of Dragoons got stuck between the pylon, between the gateway and the tech. Now he's spacing it a little bit better, so there's pylons going to be here, pylons going to be here, all the Dragoons will be spawning on this side instead. There's a single cannon there in the front, because he knows that Toki went for a choke, Call of Marines in front of the choke, ready to intercept probes, or Zealot in this case. Zealot close to scouting. Zealot scouting the bottom side of the map first. I honestly think that Jaehoon hasn't scouted this yet. He's going to scout it now. So a little bit of fake news from my side there a bit earlier. And Toki is actually not adding on a second factory. He's going for a single factory starport. He's going for the ultimate cheese quick tank drop. And that honestly works. Might work out really, really well in this specific scenario. Because the tank will be out at about... Well, the tank has started already. Siege mode has not started. I think he's going to make a machine shop first, and then he's going to go for... Alright, well, it's not called a machine shop, it's a control tower. So now he's got that one finished up. Is he going to go for the siege mode? No siege mode yet. He's going to need that siege mode if he wants to... He's got to start the siege mode about now if he wants to have all the timings up correct. Because he's going to have to pick up the tank, send the tank over the map, and the dropship. He's got the minerals, he's got the gas, but he's not doing it. There's the siege mode. Dropship is on the way, so he's timed them both at the same time. There's probably a thought process behind it, but I don't know what the thought process is. Anyway, let's go look at Jaehoon, because what Toki's doing seems pretty self-explanatory. Tanks here in the front, ready to pretty much stop a cannon push or a dragoon push in the front. That is what his tanks are located in the front, but Jaehoon is not going for that. Jaehoon is going for drops first, because he's got Storm on the way. He's got 2 Dark Templars on the way. And their Engineering Bay now coming out for Toki, so that is just dandy. Means that these Dark Templars cannot break in through the front, but they will fly in over the hills in a shuttle. That's the first move Jaehoon is going to make, is send those Dark Templars into his opponent's base. It's going to take a while before they reach the other side of the map. And I also think that he might be able to do some damage because there's no scan, no academy. Now there's a turret coming down to protect this area here, but this area here will be outside of the vision of a turret. This portion is protected by a turret, so it looks like Toki knows that Dark Templars are definitely a great option. Oh, he's got a Wraith. Wraith is hunting down the shuttle. Marines will also try to intercept that shuttle. Another Wraith coming in. Dark Templars being dropped on the low ground. This Dark Templar's gonna walk into the turret range. Kills. Ooh, takes a shot. But he's hunting for stuff, but pretty much the entrance into this area is protected by those turrets. Now the Dark Templar just hanging there on the side. Probe hunting down a Marine. And here the tank drop is coming in for Jaehoon. Jaehoon already has 3 zealots located to intercept. Toki's gonna look. Oh, Toki managed to find a spot to drop his tank, and he's gonna get a shot if he kills 5 probes. Just 5. Not that amazing. Not that amazing at all. But the investment of that hit on 5 might pay off. I'm not too sure. The one thing Toki's got going for him is that he has a pretty good anti-drop, anti-shuttle defense set up already with those 4 raids he's got there. Not a lot of units, definitely not a lot of units, but he has cloak, I think, or he's got cloak on the way. Regardless, he can snipe shuttles once shuttles come flying in, and that's exactly what Jaehoon is planning on. He's made a Stargate to make Corsairs to escort those shuttles right into Toki's base. But those shuttles might just get sniped because Toki is setting himself up with side vision here. He's got 2 Marines there located on the sides. So anything that's coming in from the top side will get spotted by those 2 Marines unless it is flying over this portion here or right over the front. But the bottom side is spotted and covered by this engineering bay. This portion is not. But Jaehoon doesn't know. Jaehoon now flies into the engineering bay. Now the raids are going to be... Oh, the raids are located quite well, actually. But Toki doesn't respond in time. Toki now responding. He unloads Templars. Templars get great storm off on those 2 raids. And third Templar is managing to get flying all the way and get a storm off on about... Whoa, 20 SVs there went down. I think it was about 20 SVs there went down to those storms. I thought it was about 54 that he had. And now it's down to 35. Raids still alive, more raids on the way, and a couple of SCVs mining minerals. No academy still, so no scans will be coming out ever, probably. Now he's making barracks. Barracks is going to be hovering over the hill to get himself extended vision up those sides. And this drop gets spotted out. This other drop on the bottom side has nothing in it. There's going to be a distraction drop to pull those raids to itself, but the shuttle flies away here. Raids are going to go on a chase, and that chase is exactly what Jaehoon needs. But Jaehoon has already relocated his Corsair and his shuttle to the other side. So the attempt kind of fails because now those raids are back inside of Toki's base. So he's got protection once again. Science facility on the way. Barracks is being lifted. He's going for a lot of side vision there. A lot of side vision. He's going to rely on just these raids here to defend himself with. Jaehoon is going to try to go in. He managed to scare those Marines away. There's no top vision now, but I do think that Toki knows that drop is now coming from the top side. Drop comes in over the northern side of the base. Raids responding very late. He managed to take down the shuttle, and he managed to take down the Templar before the storm comes down. All the SCVs stay alive, but there's another drop now coming over the bottom side, but that shuttle is completely empty. No threat whatsoever. Just a minor annoyance by forcing Toki to stop mining and pulling his SCVs off of the minerals. Once again, Jaehoon going for the mid build. Because the distance from this portion of the map to this portion of the map is honestly quite immense, quite big. Oh wait, he's not using them as side vision, he's using them to protect the depots and landing tanks on the hills, which will make it pretty much impossible for any of Jaehoon's ground forces. Maybe except he can click on the top one. It takes some effort to click on the top one. It takes some effort to click on the barrack there on the low ground. Well, I'm not sure if I've got the low ground barrack selected right here. Drop comes flying in. Drop is leaving. Anyway, the purpose of this is that these tanks up on the high ground are going to make those zealots that are going to be running in trip the fuck out. Because there's no way you're going to be able to click on what's below those barracks, or so I assume. Oh, actually you can click on it with a lot of effort. A lot of effort. I'm trying to click Ah, I have it. All right, that's the depot. You can still click on them. Take some effort, and as you saw, it took me quite some effort to do that. Here I cannot. All right, it takes a lot of effort. But Jaehoon is going for carriers instead. He's got no zealots on. Well, he does have a lot of dragoons on the way and zealots on the way here as well. So he's going for a mixed mass of carriers along with dragoons and zealots. Going to be 70 carriers in total with pretty decent upgrades, as you can see. While still on 0-0, but he's ramping up his upgrades because all the upgrades for air and ground on the way. Ground's already on level 1 weapons, and Toki is honestly rather small here. But I do think he can hold this, because this is going to be tough to break through. 2 tanks are up on the high ground, 2 tanks are up on the high ground, a couple of tanks behind it. So no ground forces are going to make their way through. There is no Alright, now there are 3 observers there for Jaehoon, but it's only 7 carriers. And I thought that Toki had a lot of raids, but it's 10 raids. With Goliaths on the way. 2 Valkyries there as well. Goliaths have their Karen booster upgrade. And Jaehoon now first cleaning out those tanks up on the higher ground. Smart to first go for the recon. Getting himself information of what to focus on. He's now microing against those carriers. A single carrier already went down within the blink of an eye. Now we relocated those raids back behind the hill. So not much of an advancement made here for Jaehoon. Raids staying... Oh, actually a wraith went down. I don't think a carrier went down. A carrier went down. So a wraith and a carrier went down. I was going to fly a drop in under the protection of those carriers, but I think Toki saw those 2 shuttles. So Toki's just going to be gunning for those 2 shuttles. Once those 2 shuttles do try to make their way in. And there the shuttles coming. The shuttles flying away because he knows those raids are hunting for the shuttles. He prevents the shuttles from being sniped, but Toki's also being very vigilant there by dancing back and forth. Pretty much the only thing that happened is those turrets going down, a bunch of interceptors going down as well. And a couple of those carries actually taking a lot of damage from those raids and Goliaths on the low ground there. 1-1 upgrades now for those Goliaths, or well, 1 upgrade on the weapons. Now a frontal attack is happening, but Jaehoon is finding himself incapable of getting those zealots to attack the depots under those barracks. He's clearing out the tanks behind. Now he's going to clear those tanks out on the high ground. But those zealots are still tripping out because of those bunkers behind the depots, blocking them from having access. And now the carriers are forced away. Observers still alive. A bunch of probes here suiciding themselves because Jaehoon apparently thinks he needs supply space, even though he's only got 58 probes. So this sacrificing those might hurt his income down the line. Once he's going to have to start pumping out a lot of units. Jaehoon once again goes in. He's going to try to hammer away on those barracks. It's specifically those barracks hanging on the front there that's denying him access into Toki's space. Toki is slowly adding on more starports, not adding on more factories. He's mostly just focusing on getting bigger and keeping his mass up to par, because his mass is almost on 200. And there's still buildings blocking his zealots from having access. And Jaehoon is honestly having a really tough time because there's only a single tank there in the back, but he cannot take it down because all of his interceptors and his carriers are being focused by this humongous mass of raids, Goliaths, and even Valkyries now. 8 Valkyries, 9 raids, and at least 20 Goliaths in the mix there. Coupled with those 3 tanks and those turrets, they're helping out against those interceptors as well. 1-1-2 upgrades now for Jaehoon. And 1-2-2 upgrades now for Toki. So both players have their upgrades in conjunction with each other. And he's trying to go in with those carriers, but the carrier mass is honestly too small to really put a dent into that ground mass from Toki. He did manage to break through the front there. Managed to kill, I think, the barrack and the depot on the low ground there. Meaning that there's now an opening there in the front. But there's too many tanks conjoined with those Goliaths teamed up really nicely that these Dragoons won't really be able to break him through that front. Jaehoon honestly really needs a drop player here because he has to keep Toki poor. And although Toki is quite poor here already, it's not because his workers has been hit. He's just spending his minerals really, really quickly while building his base at the same time. And although, honestly, 69 SCVs with 30 of those SCVs mining gas is quite a small number. because it means 38 less even. About 30 SUVs are mining because about 9 SUVs are building his base at the same time. He's got an Arbiter now there in the back. Does he have stasis? He does have Arbiter energy upgrade on the way, so he might already have stasis upgraded. The number of carriers has gone up slightly, up from 7 to 8, but there's 3 more on the way for 11 in total. And he's got a lot of shield batteries here in the back, ready to heal up his carriers. And he's trying to get in, but not making much of a dent. As I've already mentioned many times before, Toki is defending this really, really well. Toki's one of those players who will camp it out, not push the envelope, and instead make sure that he's completely ready for the counter push. He'll wait for Jaehoon to waste or run all of his units and deplete his mass into the front here. Kills the SCV to prevent mind control. Jaehoon hasn't really added on to his base whatsoever, mostly because he killed his worker count down to 34. He's banking on having an absolutely insanely big mass here in the front to help himself with breaking into Toki's base, but I don't see that happening, honestly. I don't see that happening, honestly. Because the Valkyrie count is quite high. He's sacrificed all of his raids. He's got more tanks now as well. Although, honestly, those Valkyries, if they do get stasis while being stacked up on top of each other, does open up a huge window for those carriers to go in there. But those carriers take a lot of damage now from those Valkyries and those Goliaths on the low ground there. He does have vision up on the high ground there thanks to his engineering bay, although this portion here he doesn't have vision of. As I'll show right here, like this portion he does have no vision of. If they fly here, he can attack them directly. But now he cannot target fire them. He's gonna have to use scans or hover something a little bit closer to the hill to get vision over the hill. He's unsieging now. But what is he unsieging for? Is he gonna break out? Is he going for is he going for the aggression here, or is he not yet going for the aggression? He's just gonna make sure that those units there over the hill are going to be dying. And a shuttle now coming into the mix. I don't see two Templars there, 4 Templars there in the front. He's going for the recall here on the bottom side. So that's his ploy. Recalls. Carriers going in, carriers attacking the Valkyries. Carriers carrying the Valkyries away. Is the recall gonna come down? Recall comes down there inside. Is blocked, and there's no tanks here on the lower section. There's 2 tanks now. Another tank rolling down, a couple of Goliaths there as well. But he managed to break into Toki's base with a recall, not with shuttles, but with a recall. And the recall is not doing all that much. Storms haven't really done all that much either. He did manage to scare those Valkyries away because he's scared of getting his Valkyrie stasis or stormed once they do start firing and lock themselves into a fire stun when they do start attacking those carriers. So Jaehoon has managed to nestle himself into this bottom corner here quite nicely. And he's waiting for that second recall. I don't know if he's got more Arbiters on the way. He's got more carriers on the way though. I think he's just going to try to keep this hole opened up here and recall more units through, and then maybe go for a frontal attack at the same time. Or he's going to try to go in through the top side here. He's got a couple of options there, but he needs some shuttles, and he needs another Arbiter. He's got one Arbiter there in the back, just cruising and hanging, trying to stay outside of the range of these vessels, because those vessels do have energy for an EMP, and he's got EMP research upgraded. No frontal attack happening yet. So just focus on the bottom corner here. But not yet to great success, aside from clearing out those turrets and 2 depots. He is now taking damage on those carriers as well as those Valkyries are coming into the mix. He's quickly sending those Valkyries away, doesn't want to get stasis. But I think Jaehoon is fishing for a recall, but he's going to have to group up his units here in the middle if he wants to recall at all. There's... Oh, it got EMP'd. It definitely got EMP'd. Does he have still have energy on? Yeah, he's still got energy on that one. I think he's going to try to go for a stasis into an instant recall. But there's a lot of Valkyries out now. A lot of Valkyries just spawned here for Toki. Toki's now directly attacking those carriers, and those carriers are taking a lot of damage there by those Valkyries. He managed to stasis a couple of them, but more Valkyries now flying in. Valkyries now focusing on the Arbiter. Arbiter goes down. Now the other Valkyries are going to focus on the second Arbiter. Second Arbiter also goes down. And now those carriers are free snacks for those Valkyries. Although the Valkyries are going to lose out this battle here, because the carriers honestly are a bit beefier and have more damage. But most of the carriers have been cleaned out, but the front is now being attacked by those Dragoons, and those Storms are dealing great damage to those tanks, and these Dragoons might actually break through the front here, but more tanks are going to be spawning very soon, because tanks are now on the way. Those tanks might take too long to spawn, and the reinforcements from Jaehoon are streaming in really quickly here, and honestly, having too many Valkyries there might be the nail in the coffin for Toki, because Valkyries can't do much against ground forces. He's managing to siege up a couple of his tanks here inside of his base, but the replenishment of his tanks is going too slow. Those carriers now entering the base are going to be taking care of those tanks and other units as well. Toki's trying to block things from having access to his tanks here. He's trying to bottleneck, and he's actually managing the bottleneck quite well. Jaehoon is forced out, but he's already replacing his entire mass with Zealots, and the Zealots are now going to be running into Toki's base in between these little bottlenecks that they specialize in entering. But these tanks here might just do the trick. All those tanks might just be out of range of these Zealots, honestly. But more tanks now spawning in between those factories, which means that Toki has managed to hold this breakthrough. He's gonna have to seal it off now. Added more depots there on the bottom side. Turrets now also being rebuilt. He's on full upgrades for his tanks, aside from the armor, but the armor is seconds away from finishing. Jaehoon is on 223. He isn't upgrading level 3 armor and shields for his ground forces just yet. His carriers, though, are also on 2-2, and he is upgrading that armor, but not the weapon upgrade. I also want to see if he got the weapon upgrade for air, but I can't see it anywhere, because carriers themselves don't have... Or I can see it now on this one. He's got level 3. So both players are on 2-2-3. Toki now in 3-3. But his front is still completely open, and he's now landing shuttles on top of these hills to take care of those tanks. Tanks going down really quickly, but now the Zealots are stuck there on the hill, but they've done their job. And those raids now hunting for the probe. He's gonna have to deny that expo there on the side. Zealot's still there. Shuttles are gonna go in over the bottom side of the map while those raids are mislocated on the top side of the map. Shuttles making their way through without much effort, but now raids are coming in ready to intercept the shuttle, and the shuttle gets intercepted before it lands a single Templar, and now Toki's gonna move out through the front. Nothing there to stop him, because the mass that Jaehoon has is inside of his base in the shape of carriers, and the carriers are gonna have to fly in all the way over the map. These units, ground units here on the middle of the map, will not pose a threat to these tanks. Toki is pushing out. He managed to make his way through the entire phase of the game. And Jaehoon posed a threat a couple of times, but I don't think he's got the right thinking going on here if he wants to win these games, because he is not putting the right pressure on Toki. And if you give Toki too much time, he's gonna break out and steamroll you once he has the mass, once he has the production capability, as we can see here. Give him a hand and he'll take your arm, as we're seeing here. Although, what's this? A counterattack is coming from Jaehoon, but there's no observer there, so these raids are just eating up those carriers without much resistance whatsoever. Two groups of raids tearing through those carriers. Carriers going down very quickly, and the ground forces are gonna go down to those raids as well. And Jaehoon calls GG because he knows that he is going to lose his entire gateway proxy on the middle, which leaves him with no gateways inside of his own base and only a couple of starports that he had placed there. So yeah, I'll admit, Jaehoon is kind of fumbling around. He's doing some great stuff, but he is giving Toki way too much room to breathe on builds that shouldn't have that much room to breathe. Honestly, Toki should not have had that much room to breathe with the build that he did, because the build that he did was pretty much pure risk. So yeah, that's 2 games between Jaehoon and Toki. Jaehoon, I guess, is more of a team player instead of a 1 versus 1 player, at least for fastest map, because nothing really worked out for him in these 2 games. In the first game, though, stuff really did work out for him. But in the second game, stuff did not work out for him. In the first game, things worked out for him really well, but it was still very unconventional. And I honestly think it more so came down to Toki not spending his minerals well enough in that first game, floating too many minerals too early into the game, and effectively being unable to box up to Jaehoon. Anyway, that's it for today. Just 2 quick games between Jaehoon and Toki. 1-1. But, you know, they're great friends. Probably just playing a couple of friendly matches between each other. And then calling it a day. And moving on. And probably going to play some 2 versus 2 or 3 versus 3 right after this. Alright. Thanks for watching. And have a good day.